welcome to the channel. My name is Anna Maria and I will take you through some myths, legends and folklore. And in this first episode I will talk about trolls. Trolls exist in many folklore stories, and the ones I will talk about today are the ones that originated from Norse mythology and Nordic folklore. In Norse mythology, giants or jättar and jötun were similar to trolls. Some people believed that the trolls and the giants were closely connected to each other and even related to each other, whilst others believed that the trolls were an evolution of the giants. Either way, this is when it started to come into the folklore. Trolls looks different depending on who wrote it down and how the story was interpreted. For example, they could look like humans, so they could easily move amongst them. But they had differences, like a different kind of nose or different kind of ears. Sometimes you could see a tail sticking out from underneath their clothes. But they could also be very beautiful, have nice clothes and look very elegant. They were often talked about as strangers because of the differences in their looks to humans. They could also shapeshift, which is very common in a lot of folklore. They could turn into an animal or a tree log or roll up into a ball and become a stone. The trolls that were written down in the 1800s were often described as big, quite ugly, lacked intelligence, lacked common sense. And I think that is the version that most people are familiar with through fantasy or fairy tales. But it's important to remember that the term trolls were used in many areas to describe a lot of beings, like witches or magical boars or small creatures, large creatures, everything really. So since it was such an overall term for a lot of beings, it's not that strange that they were described in so many different ways. Many of the trolls were mean to humans if the humans were mean to them, and they were nice to humans if the humans were nice to them. A quite common behavior, I would like to believe. Treat others how you want to be treated. Of course there were trolls that were mean all the time and humans that were mean all the time, but most of the trolls wanted to be incorporated in the human society, so they were very helpful towards humans. The trolls usually lived in the forest, underground or in the mountains. It was said that they had their cattle with them all the time, that they were wealthy, that they had huge treasures, especially the ones that lived in the mountains, because they could hide their treasure deep down into the caves where no humans could ever find it. The trolls that lived underground you rarely saw, but you could hear them. So when you were out walking in the forest and you heard all these voices around you, then it was probably the trolls talking amongst each other right underneath your feet. During the time Christianity became strong amongst humans, the trolls were strongly against it. It was said that you could use a cross or church bells or even force hammer, anything with steel or silver in it, to use against the trolls. This caused a lot of friction. It didn't help that the humans started to blame the trolls for everything that happened. They used folklore as an excuse. So if something got stolen or something got destroyed or anything that happened, it was the trolls' fault. It was an easy way to get out of something and not get punished by your own beliefs. The trolls had a difference in language. They spoke in a more poetic and lyrical way. They also had different words for things, like gothar that meant thunder, or tasse that meant wolf. The reason they had these different words was so they could keep all the fearful things at bay. They didn't want to attract them. So they thought that if they exchanged the words, all the dangerous animals, bad weather, all of these things would keep their distance from them. That was all I had for you today. If you liked it, please like, comment and subscribe, and don't forget the notifications. And I will see you in the next episode.